am king of dudux.
This is where 24-year-old Rien Long found himself in March 2006, a small country of 3 million people called Armenia. It's more than 6,000 miles from his home in the United States, but his family story started only 300 miles away, in what is now eastern Turkey. This map, produced by the Armenian National Institute, shows why Rien Long lives in Nashville, Tennessee, and not Kharpert or Palu, where the families of his great-grandparents, the Vartanians and the Krikorians, had lived for nearly 3,000 years. From 1915 to 1923, the 2 million Armenians who lived in the Ottoman Empire were victims of the first genocide of the 20th century. Of the 1.5 million who perished, hundreds of thousands were murdered, while others died during forced marches into the desert. 44,000 vanished from Kayseri, 37,000 from Adana, 94,000 from in and around Bitlis, and from Rien Long's ancestral hometowns of Kharpert and Palu, 51,000 and 23,000 Armenians, respectively, were never heard from again. About 500,000 made it to safety in locations all over the world to form what is called the Armenian diaspora. The Turkish government had successfully and with impunity ethnically cleansed itself of its Christian subjects. While more than 20 countries recognize the systematic killing as genocide, the government of Turkey continues an active and well-financed campaign of denial. This is Rien Long's great-uncle, Artie. Born Aramast Vartanian 86 years ago in Rhode Island, he has spent the last few decades in the Northern California town of Yuba City. Every morning he raises the flag of the country that gave his immigrant parents safety and freedom.
They came here to America like a lot of the Armenians who were being expelled or to get away from the, as we know now, genocide.
Toros Vartanian and Yerevan Krikorian arrived in America before the genocide began in 1915. 300,000 Armenians had already been massacred from 1894 to 1896, and some Armenians figured the Ottoman Turks had no plans to make life easier on the Armenian Christians of Turkish-occupied Armenia. Artie's uncle Manug also made it to America ahead of the genocide, but his wife and 2 children were not as fortunate. When Manug went back overseas to bring them to America, he discovered they had been killed. The experience radicalized him.
He lost his family. That's the expression, you know. It's all lost, see. Except my uncle, he would talk about it. But my father and mother never, ever talked about the loss of their relatives. My father, he in the ARF, Armenian Revolutionary Federation, that he was associated with, through that organization was one of the men who organized activities to whatever way to get Armenians out of those that were still stuck there in Armenia. And also, I guess, at that time there was even thought of revenge.
Uncle Artie is sort of the family historian and had a big impact on Rien Long's understanding of his ethnic heritage.
Nice job, Ronald! Hit! Why did you step with it?
It didn't all click or come together until, you know, my Uncle Artie started telling me good stories of the old days, and then my grandma, she showed me this knife that she had, or what was a bayonet, you know, back from around the genocide time. And then from there, you know, it went from, you know, just pretty much on my own, just researching and, you know, just doing school reports and whatnot, and just finding out more about my history and whatnot, and just hearing more stories from my Uncle Artie and my grandma. And
Toros and his wife added to their family, including Ryan's grandmother, Gladys. While she was still young, the Vartanians moved to Los Angeles, where some 15 years later, Gladys married Paul Bailey. Their only child, Lori Bailey, was raised in Culver City, where she spent enormous amounts of time with her grandfather, Toros, from whom she'd occasionally hear some of the family history, including stories of a dagger once owned by her uncle Manug.
And he had more of the experience of what was happening with the genocide. My grandpa had escaped that whole experience. And so I think his brother tried to keep his younger brother, my grandfather, kind of stirred up so that he wouldn't forget what had happened. And somehow we got in possession of the knife that supposedly did some damage.
Lori was married for a few years to Michael Long, with whom she had Ryan and Devin. But when that marriage ended, she met David Cunningham, who lived in nearby Pasadena. The couple eventually moved to the Pacific Northwest.
Well, Lori and I met in '86, and the boys were 3 and 5, and then we got married eventually, of course, and we moved up here in 1990, so most of the boys' time growing up was spent here.
Anacortes, which has a population of about 12,000, is 90 miles north of Seattle. It's an arts community with a seemingly unlimited number of outdoor activities.
On a good day, Washington's a very beautiful place, and I have a lot of good memories there.
Ryan and Devin were athletic from a very early age. Ryan, in fact, is seen here wearing number 88, the number he'd donned at Washington State University. His collegiate jersey is now framed and hanging in the weight room at Anacortes High School. But Ryan didn't actually play football until his junior year. He had his sights set on going to college on a basketball scholarship. But then a new football coach came to town. Ted Beyer, who now coaches in the much bigger city of Vancouver, Washington, is the reason Rien Long started playing organized football.
It was almost an instant friendship. He was very easy to talk with and work with. He's extremely coachable for a large, very athletic person. He didn't have a big ego. He was really easy to work with. Ryan's an extremely tremendous competitor. I think that's what sets him apart. All his physical qualities wouldn't be worth a hoot if he couldn't compete hard.
Washington State University head coach Bill Doba was impressed the first time he dropped in on Ryan at Anacortes High School.
Oh, we can coach technique and blocking and tackling and all that, but we can't coach a kid to be 6'6". I mean, he was about 255 then or so, and he had those long arms. It's so hard to find people big that can run and are athletic, and he was, you know, he just a little underdeveloped when we got him. If he would have been the 285 when his senior year in high school, everybody in the country would have recruited him. He was a good basketball player. I think the night we saw him, he went to dunk it, the bank board shattered.
You go, you know, a mile north, east, west, or south, and you're in the middle of nowhere, wheat fields. And so all you have is each other to, you know, hang out with, and you know, so it really brought us, our team together, and you know, even as a school as a whole, you know, very tighter than most. You know, people didn't get lost in the city where some universities are. I had a blast there. I wouldn't trade anything for it in the world. My memories from WCU were, you know, legendary and most memorable.
Rien Long was a legend himself during his 3 seasons as a defensive tackle with the Washington State Cougars.
Oh, they get right to him off the snap. Untouched that time, Long. 4-man rush in time for Walter. Down he goes again. Long coming through to drop him.
In his junior year, Ryan led his team to the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. registering 52 tackles and 13 sacks, which was the 6th best in the country in 2002. He was a first-team All-American, as well as earning first-team Pac-10 honors. He ended his college career with 100 tackles. But most impressive was being the first and only player in Washington State history to receive the Outland Trophy, which is given to college football's top interior linemen.
I didn't even know what the Outland Trophy was really until midway through the season. It was like a Cinderella story, you know. You kind of black out there for a second when they call you up, and you run up there and get your trophy on national television. It was pretty cool. It was pretty intense.
Just the nomination in and of itself was sort of mind-boggling, and then I always remember when he won it, we were all huddled around the TV, and when they announced his name, we just exploded. I mean, I don't think we stopped screaming for 5 minutes. Yeah.
My wife could tell you, I mean, I was in tears in the living room because it was just such a tremendous honor, and to see a player that you'd had an impact in his life to help move him in that direction, to succeed at that level was moving for me.
Winning the Outland Trophy meant the NFL was going to come knocking, so Ryan decided to skip his senior year of college.
I don't know. I'll put it honestly, he really didn't like school a lot. And so he saw an opportunity to jump into pros, and away he went.
But during those college days, Ryan became more interested in his Armenian roots. That led him to Moscow. Not Russia, but Idaho, which was 8 miles down the road from Pullman. He paid a visit to the Falling Moon Tattoo Studio, where in just a couple of hours he got a tattoo of the Armenian flag underneath the 7th letter of the Armenian alphabet. Jeremy Hogan says he knew very little about Armenians when he tattooed Ryan's right arm.
I grew up in northern Idaho, so not a whole lot of exposure to a whole lot unless you actually get out of here.
The idea right now of the necessity for diasporic people, especially for the Armenians' case, because they got kicked out, that desire of always wanting somewhere to believe, like the Zionists did to Israel, the idea is there of wanting to go back or identifying with the root somewhere, that my story starts from somewhere,
Kardash Onig is a sculptor and the author of the book Savage Chic, A Fool's Chronicle of the Caucasus. He's also an expert on the 1,600-year-old Armenian alphabet. He says the 7th letter of the alphabet, pronounced E, means God exists, or simply beingness.
In the 301, they identified as beingness, which they called it God, because they were Christian already. So it has to do with the symbolism with Christianity that the church uses on the altar as symbolism of God. But it always represented beingness, still used as Eutun, which means beingness.
Ryan Long says the tattoo is a conversation piece that lets him talk to people about Armenians and the genocide.
Oh yeah, they ask, and they're like, what's that flag? And I say it's an Armenian flag, or the flag of Armenia. And like, oh yeah, that's like somewhere in Africa, right? Or Eastern European bloc. You're Albanian, right? Or, like, no, not even close, my friend. They just don't know about it, and they've never even really heard of Armenian, or some do, and they're like, yeah, I had an Armenian dude on my football team one time, and he was a crazy guy, or he was out there. I was like, yeah, that's usually how it happens. That's usually how we are.
According to Richard Demirjian's book, A Who's Who Among Armenian American Athletes, Coaches, and Sports Personalities, which covers most of the 20th century, there have been a number of Armenian Americans who excelled at football in college, but making it in the pros is a different story. Since the 1920s, fewer than 10 Armenian Americans have played more than a couple of seasons of professional football. Miran Mike Gulian was the first Armenian American to play in the NFL, lasting 5 seasons in the 1920s.
We had to put it down in black and white, and it's there for all to see.
There were really only two Armenian-American NFL standouts in the 1940s and 50s. Kicker Ben Agajanian played more than 100 games over some 20 years, and there was three-time All-Pro Don Paul. The Fresno native played 8 seasons at linebacker with the Los Angeles Rams. And according to Demirjian and databasefootball.com, in the last 50 years there have only been 4 Armenian Americans to play more than 3 seasons in the NFL. Beginning in 1966, Garo Yepremian played for 14 years, along the way picking up 2 Super Bowl victories with the Miami Dolphins. Starting in 1972, defensive lineman Steve Furness played 9 of his 10 NFL seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers, winning 4 Super Bowls. And quarterback Gary Danielson, who played more than 100 NFL games with Detroit and Cleveland from 1976 to 1988.
Thanks, Ryan. No problem.
And most recently, there's Rien Long, who's heading into his 4th season with the Tennessee Titans. Demirjian, a retired businessman and seemingly full-time historian, is also the author of 2 books on Armenian-American veterans who have distinguished themselves under combat conditions. And in addition to his sports book, he founded the Armenian Summer Games nearly 40 years ago in the San Francisco Bay Area, where he resides. Demirjian's impressed with Long's size, 6'6", 300 pounds, by far the biggest and tallest Armenian-American to ever play in the NFL, but he's also moved by Long's desire to visit his ancestral homeland.
There's got to be something in the blood. There's got to be. Because 4 generations, he still has that interest to want to be going to Armenia. I think that says a lot, because it's not only him. There's others that are the same way, that are half or quarter or 16th.
We first caught up with Rien Long at the Tennessee Titans training camp in Nashville in the summer of 2005.
Before you move on, can I have a sexy shot?
A sexy?
Pretty smile.
Do I look sexy right now? I mean, look at this.
You do.
Nashville's a great place. I couldn't have been drafted to a better team or town. I mean, you know, you hope to be on a certain team, you know, because of that city. You know, sometimes you know, who wants to go to Buffalo? You know, but you know, when I went to Nashville, I was excited, and the people down there are great. The fans are tremendous. You know, at the games, they're very loyal. You know, good Titans fans, and it's always a blessing, you know, coming out in that stadium, you know, just 69,000 people cheering for you. Your hands, okay. I'll help you out there.
Rien Long splits his time between Nashville and the state of Washington, where he has a 4-year-old son, Gavin. In the 2005 off-season, Rien Vartan Long was going through a book on Armenian art and architecture. He borrowed from a couple of designs to get his latest Armenian-themed tattoos. And in one of them, he incorporated his Armenian middle name, Vartan, into the design.
Vartan, it starts from right here and wraps around like in an orb. Behind it, you can see a cross with 3 concentric circles. That was in the top of, in the ceiling of the old Armenian church. And then on the other side, this is the symbol that I saw on the outside of the church, on top of a doorway or arch.
Rien got the tattoo at Bandana's Skin Art in Anacortes, Washington. Mike Stamm, who is known as Bandana Mike, only does custom work. All his tattoos, he says, are one of a kind.
In the beginning, you picked a design off the wall, number 57B, got it, along with thousands of other people, and I never wanted to do that, so I started hand-drawing and stuck with it.
Bandana Mike said he enjoyed working on Rien once they figured out a way to fit him into the chair.
We looked at his name in Armenian, different letters, and tried to figure out what we can do with a design. And we bumped heads a little bit and figured out we were going to rotate it into a sphere. Just design work.
So in his 2005 NFL season, Rien Long participated in his weekly modern-day battles with a flag of Armenia on one arm and designs inspired by ancient Armenian churches on the other. The tattoos are no doubt Rien Long's way to express his inherited creativity. His grandmother, Gladys Vartanian Bailey, is a traditional artist who has been painting for decades. Much of her work is personal, which she simply signs Vartanian. Ryan's mother is also an artist and an author. Her book on mandalas explains and showcases this old and universal art form, which has been described as an integrated structure organized around a unifying center. Ryan's most recent tattoo is, in fact, a mandala.
Ladies and gentlemen, our aircraft has just landed at Vartan Airport, Yerevan City. Will you please remain seated until the aircraft stops completely? Our flight comes to its end. The captain and his crew say goodbye, wish you all the best, and thank you for your choice of Armenia flight.
As Ryan Vartan Long prepared to get off the plane and take the first step on Armenian soil on behalf of the Vartanian and Kirkorian families in 100 years, the historic nature of the moment and capturing it on videotape apparently were not a priority for the airport's security staff. But a few minutes later, the greeting by Armenia Amirian of Armenia TV was a bit more welcoming. The next morning, Ryan put on an actual Tennessee Titans game jersey for 2 rounds of interviews on Armenia TV, one conducted in Armenian by Mary Shahinian, with this film's co-producer and translator, Arpa Film by Ryan's side, and another interview in English, conducted by reporter Rubina Margosian. Armenia TV has programs in Armenian and English and is seen around the world on satellite television.
This morning I woke up and I opened up my window and there's Mount Ararat, and just stuff, I've seen pictures in books and, read about, but, there it is. And, so that was a trip this morning. And then now in the pros or professional football, I play for the Tennessee Titans, and Nashville, Tennessee.
I doubt they know where that is, but
yeah,
I'll try to explain.
If you ever hear, if you ever listen to country music, it comes from Nashville. As far as trying to translate American football to Armenians, I left that up to our driver, Vrej, who definitely portrayed me as the American rugby champion. And it sounded pretty good. I went with it.
Vrej Vartanian was our driver on the trip, and when circumstances dictated, he could play the piano as well as he avoided potholes. Also on the trip was Ryan's mother, his grandmother Gladys, her first cousin Sandra Manassian Stenius of Oregon, and as noted earlier, co-producer Arpa Film. Ryan and his traveling partners made it all over Armenia and the neighboring country of Nagorno-Karabakh. Armenia is bordered by Georgia to the north, Azerbaijan to the east, Iran to the south, and Turkey to the west. In the capital of Yerevan, there is a construction boom with building cranes in every direction. Government statistics indicate double-digit growth for 5 straight years and a drop in the number of people living below the poverty line from 50 to 35%. One of Ryan Long's first stops was the Kafestian Museum of Art and Cultural Center, which will be completed in stages over the next couple of years.
It was really cool to see a mural of Vartan Melchiorian and others and friends, because it was a big mural, and it was quite intriguing and quite beautiful.
This painting is one of the very famous works of Armenian artist Geghard Monastery. This is called a triptych. The first part represents the Armenian creation of Armenian alphabet. You can see the alphabet over there. The second part is called Vartan. It actually depicts the how Armenians have fought their right to survive in this world over many centuries. This is basically our survival history, the second part. And finally, the third part is the rebirth of Armenian nation. It is represented by many Armenian cultural people or intelligentsia.
Proceeded to the top where we saw the designs for the rest of the museum, and which was also pretty impressive. And I could look forward to seeing the completion of that museum.
There are many Armenians from the diaspora who have moved to Armenia to offer their expertise to the country. Early in his trip, Ryan Long had a chance to join a group of so-called diasporan Armenians for a traditional Western Armenian dinner. There was a lawyer, a nonpartisan political education specialist, and an Orange County, California man who has authored a tour book and is the creator of the website armeniapedia.com.
I'm pretty sure very few NFL players have been in Armenia, and I can pretty much guarantee that no NFL player who's been to Armenia has had an Armenian flag on their arm. We were just talking about the Armenian genocide here with your mom, and I think the greatest legacy of our people and the most amazing tribute that you can pay to your grandparents, great-grandparents, and your ancestors is by coming to this country and saying, this is my ancestral homeland, and that's why I'm back. So cheers to you. Huh?
Cheers. Welcome to Armenia. Welcome. Cheers. You guys, welcome. Cheers.
When Rien Long and his family visited the Genocide Memorial and Museum, they were joined by a few local school children who said they often come to visit the site.
Standing there at the memorial, I couldn't help but, think about, how my great-grandparents, they lost relatives. There's a lot of people out there that are in denial and of that genocide ever taking place. In the future, I'm certain that justice will be done and truth will prevail.
Այստեղ մենք չունենք բոլոր ամերիկյան նահանգների փաստաթղթերը, այստեղ ընդամենը մի քանիսն են։ Վերջինը, որ մենք ստացանք, Ամերիկայի հայկական համագումարի միջոցով Հայաստան եկավ Արնոլդ Շվարցնեգերի։ Իսկ որ այս հայտարարությունից հետո Թուրքիայում արգելեցին բոլոր ֆիլմերի ցուցադրությունը, որտեղ նկարահանված է Արնոլդ Շվարցնեգերը։ Եվ այս պատմությունը հայերը պատմեցին Շվարցնեգերին, իհարկե ծիծաղեց։
Hey, welcome. Good seeing you. Nice meeting you.
Good to see you.
Hello.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. Welcome. Very well. Yeah, because this kind of things gives a lot of encouragement to our people here, and to see their compatriots who succeeded in sports coming to Armenia. So that's very good, and it's also good for you. Let me tell you. So you see, your motherland, independent Armenia. It's been 15 years. I know there are many problems, shortcomings. You will see that, but I think there are also many successes. It's been difficult years. I think these people have not only survived but also made progress against all odds, because Armenia gained independence under very difficult circumstances. And I always say to our compatriots who come and visit Armenia, what you see, don't take it for granted, because these people have gone through difficult times. But also, whatever you see, don't be satisfied with, because we can do much better. So one has to be able to strike that right balance between what there is as positive and what's there negative. Neither one should, makes us more relaxed, nor the other to discourage us from, making this a better place for every Armenian.
Seeing Erebuni was quite impressive. Walking around, seeing what the city was before Christian times is, it predates a lot of cities, Rome. Erebuni is the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world. It predates Rome roughly 13, 17 years, and it was just really intriguing to me because there was a lot of history, a lot of artifacts that were shown in the museum of pagan times, and some of the first etchings and stones, and just a lot of tablets and art and whatnot. So it was just it was a really cool thing to see and experience.
In the Armenian Republic, we should speak about the fortress Erebuni, which is like the same as Yerevan. That is, Erebuni, Yerevan is the historical phonetical change. The root is the same, meaning victory, achievement. This city has lived a long life. Already 3,000 years, it is alive, and I'm sure that it will live forever. A lot of very ancient cities like Babylon or some other cities, they don't exist now, but Yerevan is alive, and it will be. We don't have some ideas to say that Erebuni was more important than Rome, no. But we want to say that when speaking about the Armenian culture, we should see how old it was and what a big heritage we have now. And we have to preserve it for the coming generations.
After seeing and hearing so much about Armenian history, Ryan and his family had a chance to actually participate in a Christian ritual that's hundreds of years old, a baptism in the Armenian church, in this case at the massive Cathedral of St. Gregory the Illuminator.
As the baptism took place, witnessing it was very powerful, in the sense that Armenia has been a Christian nation since 301 AD, and so these baptisms have been a huge tradition, not only in Christianity but as an Armenian people, and just to know that they've been knocking these baptisms out, for the last 1,700 years, is pretty powerful, and it's pretty. It's a testament to the Armenian people and the Armenian faith and Christianity.
Աստված հայտնի մկրտություն, մկրտի հանուն հոր եւ որդվո եւ հոգվույն սրբով.
You get a 6'6", Armenian over there trying to put on the necklace on a little baby girl, and I got sausage fingers right here. It just doesn't work, okay?
It's okay, Tony.
Oh, come on. Got it.
Եվ արտեր, պահյա սասրքությամբ ու քույցրքով, առնել անարատությամբ ըսկամսքո եւ անմեղությամբ.
This is the Geghard Monastery complex. It sits atop the pit where St. Gregory was imprisoned for 13 years. He'd been preaching Christianity in the late 200s AD, and the pagan king at the time was not interested. But when the king was incapacitated by disease, he summoned St. Gregory, who, the story goes, miraculously cured him. As a reward, the king freed St. Gregory and declared Armenia the world's first Christian nation in 301 AD.
Here we got the snake.
See the little flash of light coming through that hole right there, and that's where St. Gregory was apparently fed from. One of the nuns would come by and pass food and water to him through that hole, so he was able to survive for the 13 years.
Well, it was like a couple minutes. It sure felt like 13 years.
The Hor Virap complex is one of the best locations to see Mount Ararat while in Armenia. Mount Ararat currently sits in eastern Turkey and is where the Bible says Noah's Ark landed.
It's just it's an impressive sight, even though it's now in present-day Turkey. It's a shame, you know, we can't go over there and see the history that's in ancestral Armenia, where my great grandparents are from. And here we are, the boundary between Armenia and Turkey, and we're sitting here, and it seems so close, but yet so far away.
You have to make a wish for yourself and throw it in the air. He says you make a wish, and whatever wish you have, that wish will come true.
I know what I wished for.
Ararat Masis.
Etchmiadzin is the seat of the Armenian Church and is the holiest and at 1700 years the oldest Christian site in Armenia. Although our cameras were not permitted in the basement below the main cathedral, this photograph was taken of Rien Long next to what has been inconclusively identified as the so-called Spear of Destiny, the weapon believed to have pierced the side of Jesus Christ during his crucifixion.
And I was very lucky enough to get a nice little sneak peek behind the doors, and I got to see the Spear of Destiny.
Geghard is the Armenian word for spear, and this monastery, carved into the side of a mountain, is where the Spear of Destiny was housed for hundreds of years before it was taken to Etchmiadzin. The complex dates back to the 13th century and is famous for its Armenian medieval architecture. Fairly close to Geghard Monastery is Garni Temple, which was built in the 1st century AD by a king who, it's believed, was trying to impress a sun god. Garni Temple is the site of the oldest surviving khachkar, or stone cross in Armenia, dating back to 879 AD. So Rien Long had seen the oldest Armenian church and even an old pagan temple, but now he hoped to see the churches that inspired the tattoos on his left arm. First, Deacon Noy Nazarian helped him find the 13th century church of Shohokhat, which means drop of light, and is about a mile from Etchmiadzin. Then it was on to the 17th century church of St. Grigor at Mughni, whose dome is etched on Rien Long's upper left arm with Armenian letters spelling Vartan woven into it.
As always with a lot of things, when you see something in a book or in a movie, it's for the most part, it's make-believe, it's just, you can't touch it, you can't feel it, and but once you are able to go to these places and these churches and actually see what I saw in the book manifested in front of your eyes, it's pretty awesome feeling, seeing, looking up at the top of that ceiling and seeing, that same artwork and symbol on my arm, it's pretty cool.
As was mentioned earlier, Rien Long's mother is the author of a book on mandalas and is the executive director of the Mandala Project, which is a nonprofit organization that promotes peace through art and education.
By understanding that everything is connected, helps to think about ways that we can create peace by understanding each other and finding the similarities between each other.
The Mandala Project has conducted international workshops, and this trip to Armenia was perfect to have such a session and spend the day with the kids of Oran, which means haven. Oran was founded in 2000 by Armenian Americans Armina and Rafi Hovhannisyan, who permanently moved to Armenia in the early 1990s.
Several years ago, before Oran was founded, my husband Rafi and I used to be very upset when we saw children begging on the streets, asking money for their daily bread. We couldn't believe that Armenia had become independent, and among us were children who were hungry. So we came up with the idea of supporting at least 15, 16 children a day, providing a hot meal for them. And we rented a very small room and provided a hot meal to 16 children a day. But soon, Armenians from the diaspora, our friends, relatives, heard about what we were doing, and each one wanted to contribute in their own way. And pretty soon Oran grew, and our beneficiaries, the children, brought other children with them, and eventually we had elderly coming in and asking for a hot meal. And with the assistance of our compatriots, we were able to grow, and today we are proud to say that Oran is 5 years old. It has expanded its number of beneficiaries. We serve 65 children a day, and we have 48 elderly.
Oran offers hot meals, tutoring, and psychological counseling, and a dental clinic is coming soon. Most of the kids come from very challenging personal situations, whether it be their family structure or their living conditions.
The children were very excited to hear that a famous football star was visiting it. And these visits are very important because it makes the children feel respected, loved, cared for, and it also gives them idols and examples, role models to look at and to strive for a better life.
It was really cool to see my mom, with her workshop, interacting with the kids and seeing how the kids reacted to her workshop and the activities and crafts that they did. It was nice to see the looks on their faces, see the smiles of the kids, and it was really heartwarming.
This is the road to Gyumri, about 100 miles northwest of Yerevan. Rien Long wanted to see the second most populous city in Armenia because it's been making a comeback since thousands were killed in an earthquake in 1988. You can still see remnants of the devastation as well as intentional reminders. The population that was once over 200,000 is again on the rise.
He was born at night. About half past 11. Yes.
This clinic, run by the Armenian Relief Society, boasts 20 births a week. Dr. Peter Musurlian, who's the maternity ward director, says the earthquake of 1988 was compounded by governmental disarray after the Soviet Union collapsed in the early 1990s. But he quickly adds, the region has prevailed.
Մենք մեր կդանք, մենք մեր օրենքը կդանք, մեր ապրելավոճը կդանք, կամաց սկսեցինք վերականգնվել։ Կորուստ տվեցինք անսահման, զոհերի տեսքով, արդակնա, մարդկանց որ գնաց ուրիշ տեղեր ապրելու, կախտեցին Ռուսաստաններ, Ամերիկաներ, կորուստ դա էլ է կորուստ, ինչի ոչ։ Բայց կամաց հավաքվեցին, օրենք կդանք, պետականություն կդանք ու ապրանք։
It was really nice to see, going to the clinic up there, the medical clinic. To see all the new births and to see the new generation from the aftermath of the earthquake, and the people up there really took it upon themselves that after losing so many people in the tragedy, that they did a repopulation of their own, and there was a big baby boom. I guess they're the baby boomers of Armenia.
Following Gyumri, we headed west toward Lake Sevan. The higher altitude greeted us with snow, and we almost didn't make it. We ended up at this resort hotel with the empty lobby indicating it was not tourist season. When it is tourist season, you can count on thousands of visitors to Lake Sevan, one of the world's largest freshwater alpine lakes, and a revered national treasure.
Well, I kind of wanted to see Lake Sevan today, but you know, this ain't too bad either. I mean, it's kind of cool having the snow here. It's real peaceful out here.
We suspect this is the first time anyone has ever thrown around an American football in the snow near Lake Sevan. It was just Rien Long and Arpa Ohanian doing their part to enter the Armenian record books.
Yeah.
The last couple of days of Ryan's long journey to Armenia were spent driving to and from and visiting the Republic of Nagorno-Karabakh. About halfway to Karabakh, we stopped near Sisyan at a place called Karahunj, a picture of which can be found in Laurie Bailey Cunningham's book on mandalas.
About 1,000 years before Stonehenge, the Metsamorians placed these stones in specific locations, and 76 of the over 200 stones actually had these keyholes in them, and they line up with specific astronomical events. And it was thought that they were just tombstones at one point, just markers, but just in the 80s they actually realized, Elma Parsamian and Paris Haruni, some astrophysicists, realized that they actually line up with these specific events, which make them really sort of like the first compasses ever used. It's pretty fascinating stuff.
The road from Karahunj to Karabakh was also fraught with the peril of slick and slushy march roads, as these two truck drivers found out. But we eventually hit milder weather as we neared the independent country of 145,000 people, 95% of whom are Armenian. Although that independence was declared from the Soviets in 1991, the Armenians and neighboring Azerbaijanis fought a war until 1994. The ceasefire has held, but tensions are often very high. When we made it to this remote border crossing, Rien Long was greeted by a border guard who had seen him on television.
So he's very happy to have you here in Karabakh, and he hopes that this isn't your last trip here. It'll be your first of many more to come. We're very proud here that we have diasporan Armenians like yourself. He says that up until now it's true we didn't know about you, but we saw you on television yesterday. We're very happy that you're here with us, and now you plan to come visit Artsakh.
Tell him I appreciate you guys fighting for Karabakh, so I could see you and come and visit.
Ինքը ձեզնից ասում շնորհակալություն, այդ մեր ձերնման մարդիկ այս հողը պահպանել են, որ ինքը կարողանա այս հողը տեսնի.
Մենք մեր պարտք ենք կատարել մեր հայրենիքի։
Because it was our responsibility.
I'm honored.
Շատ ուրախ.
The flag of mountainous Karabakh is just like the Armenian flag, but with a design to suggest that the two countries should be one and are awaiting unification. This is Shushi, once a town of 20,000. The war left it damaged and with 15,000 fewer people. Apo Bohigian is an Armenian-American entrepreneur from Los Angeles who is attempting to rebuild the local marketplace as well as build a 12-story hotel.
After the movement, after the fight, Shushi was one of the centers from where Stepanakert was attacked because of its position. They bombarded the Stepanakert from Shushi. And in 1992, in May of 1992, it was liberated from the Azeris, and unfortunately, not much attention is being given to Shushi by the government and by the population, the Armenian community, Armenian nation in general, and it seems like an abandoned city now. Not very much progress is happening here. There are some activities, but they're not enough to give hope for the population that they will have a better life in the future.
This location in Shushi is the site of a famous Armenian triumph in the war against Azerbaijan.
In order to gain access to Shushi, to stop the bombing, they had to scale this wall. And so 13 Armenians were able to successfully scale up this cliff and come up and battle and help regain Shushi.
This church is back in Armenian hands, but during the war, the Azerbaijanis used it to store ammunition, knowing their adversaries would never bomb an Armenian church.
Traveling through the countryside of Karabakh, I got to see the aftermath of a war-torn country. Although I saw this destruction, seeing the people and their faces, I didn't see despair, I saw hope, and I saw pride that they fought for their land and were victorious.
The highlight of the trip for Rien Long was visiting Geghard Monastery, which is located a couple of hours northwest of the Karabakh capital of Stepanakert. The road there, which is being paved, was a challenge on the passengers and the van. Geghard is considered by some to be one of the most important artifacts in Armenian architecture.
Because next to the stairs, there's a man and a woman on the right side. That's Adam and Eve, and the snake is the serpent between the two. You can see it. Did you see it?
Yes.
But even perhaps more impressive is the man in charge, Father Derhovanes, a formidable presence himself standing next to the 6'6" Rien Long. Father Derhovanes is a veteran of the recent war, where he led troops in prayer, then battle.
Բայց մեր տղաների արյան գնով եւ աստծոօրհնությամբ կարողացանք հետ քշել չթողնելով մտնեն Գանձասարի վանք։ Կոչում է Լեռնային Ղարաբաղ, դուք լսել եք, կոչում է Լեռնային
Ղարաբաղ. It's called Mountainous Karabakh.
Ահա լեռները մեր։
And this is why, because of the mountains around it.
Եվ այս գեղեցիկ Լեռնային Ղարաբաղը ազերին ուզում էր իրենը դարձնել։ Բայց ինչպես կարող է ազերին ունենալ այս տարածքը, քանի որ սա աստծոօրհնությամբ պատկանում է հայ ժողովուրդ։ Մեր խաչքարերն են վկայում, որ հայն է ապրել այստեղ, հայն է կերտել խաչքար, հայն է կառուցել եկեղեցի։
In the Netherlands, Rien Long said goodbye to his mother and grandmother as he headed to Nashville, and they caught a flight to the state of Washington. 3 generations of Armenian Americans returning to America after their first trip to Armenia.
On this journey back to Armenia, seeing what home was for my ancestors and seeing what home is today for Armenians, in the end I realized this wasn't just a trip to Armenia, but a journey back home.
Sharing an unequal love. the blind have no faith in color without you. Like a blind faith, color has no meaning without you. Of the sun, you're absent at night, yet you don't forget us with the look of the moon and the shape of the stars you beckon us. Of the sun, you're absent at night, yet you don't forget us with the look of the moon and the shape of the stars you beckon us. Ինչպես մեկ օր անվերջ տևած երազների վերջը գտա վերջին պահին ափսոս միայն մեկ օր տեսա երկար սպասված վերջին երազը ափսոս այդքան շուտ վերջացավ դժվար տրված երազնագին Ես դեռ հավատալ, որ այսքան մեծ երազ եմ տեսել Չեմ ուզում ես դեռ հավատալ, որ այսքան մեծ սիրո մեջ ոչինչ չկար Ամեն տարվա նույն ժամանակ Կուզեմ հիշել որպես կատակ, բայց դեռ երբեք ոչ մի կատակ ինձ չէր դարձրել այդքան թեթև Կարծես գիտեմ, որ վերջներ սա ու ինչ-որ բան իմ մեջ փոխվեց Հիմա արդեն ամեն գիշեր կասեմ ողջույն իմ հին ընկեր Չեմ ուզում ես դեռ հավատալ, որ այսքան մեծ երազ եմ տեսել Չեմ ուզում ես դեռ հավատալ, որ այսքան մեծ սիրո մեջ Չեմ ուզում ես դեռ հավատալ, որ այսքան մեծ երազ եմ տեսել Չեմ ուզում ես դեռ հավատալ, որ այսքան մեծ սիրո մեջ ոչինչ չկա